Hi, good evening, everyone. Sorry. I'm Angela Inko, and my topic is about surrogacy, or the surrogate mother. And my main claim would be that even though surrogacy has been attached to the issue of gay marriage, and as we all know, gay marriage is not yet legal all over the world, which tells us that the people who do not agree with gay marriage has the possibility to disagree with the surrogacy. However, despite the fact that people discourage this kind of process, it has a significant positive role in our society, being the alternative to adoption or other childbirth process. My three main claims would be that surrogacy is a legally practiced medical process. The second one is that over adoption, surrogacy is found to have more positive results in obtaining a child because of the latter results. And unlike what other people may claim, surrogacy is not an immoral act towards the surrogate mother. So surrogacy is a legal practice medical process. First, I'm going to define surrogacy, which refers to an arrangement in which the surrogate is the child's genetic mother. The woman's egg is fertilized in a lab using sperm of the man who wishes to raise the child. This process is very widely practiced among nations and states. One of them is Canada, Australia, India, Israel, Netherlands, and Belgium, Ukraine, United Kingdom, and in the United States, the states that has this legal process: Florida, California, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. Many among infertile couples who have very little chance of conceiving a child has also undergone this process. According to the Center for Disease Control and Preservation, also called as CDC, the number of women ages 15 to 44 with impaired fecundity, which means impaired ability to have children, is 7.3 million, which is 11.8%. If we come to think about it, how about those couple who's infertile? And because in my part, I had this first-hand experience with my friend. She and her husband has been trying to have this child for 5 years, and they have considered adoption. However, they've talked and they wanted to have a newly born. And in adoption, to obtain a newly born can last up to years of waiting. And finally, they went to their doctor, and he suggested that if they want to consider surrogacy, it would be better for them because it will only take about a year or a year and a half, and it's less time for them. Another one is that it has a positive contributing factors to our medical field because it can help avoid the risk of transferring any health diseases a woman has to her child. An example of this is I'm going to have came from a medical scholarly journal called Nursing Ethics. For example, a couple has 4 children. In the case of the parents, one parent has type 2 diabetes, and the other one is not affected at all. Even though there is only one carrier, all four children will be carriers, and the chances are 1 of 4 will have the disease, which makes for a 25% chance overall. My second claim is that over adoption, surrogacy is found to have more positive results in obtaining a child because of the latter results. In adopting a child, sometimes you are unsure if the child has any abandonment issues or any other emotional issues as to how they were brought up. According to the psychologists Dr. Brodzinski and Dr. Shesker of Oxford University, they've studied children of adoption and surrogacy. They found out that children of adoption are more likely to have behavior problems, problems with other children, emotional problems, and marriage problems because they claim to be definitely unrelated to the parents they knew, and they have no idea as to why his or her real parents gave him or her up. On the other hand, a surrogate child is less likely to have these kinds of problems because the child knows at least their father and the parents have a reliable source to tell the child as to why they had to do it. My final claim is that, unlike what other people may claim, surrogacy is not an immoral act towards the surrogate mother. First of all, surrogacy issue is between 2 parties who both willing to go under the process. Second is that the surrogate mother is the one who has enlisted herself to bear a child for a couple, which means that this is upon the surrogate's choice. Finally, according to Dr. Kenneth D. April of the Ethics of Reproductive Technology, he's from Oxford University, even though some people may view women and children in this process to be treated as commodities due to specialization in the reproductive process, many of the third parties involved in this emerging enterprise seek to gain profits from the commercialization of procreation. So, in conclusion, I would say that that surrogacy has a very positive role in our society, and that it helps a lot of infertile couples to have a child. Thank you.
Right, I felt like I got a lot of information about the subject matter, but I'm still not quite sure what the argument's about, what the dispute is. You started off with this whole side point about gay marriage and about some other issues, and its relationship to surrogacy was almost invisible to me. When you got to the secondary points, it's a little bit clearer sort of where you're going, but a lot of those secondary points are not stated like declarative sentences. They, again, are just labels for some of the information you're going to be talking about. I guess there might be a conflict here between whether or not somebody would prefer surrogacy over adoption, and that's maybe where the controversy lies here, that one has a healthier outcome, a more psychologically sound outcome, a long-term prognosis for successful relationships outcome. I think that's where your argument ultimately comes down, that surrogacy solves those problems that adoption can't solve for infertile couples, and maybe that's the way you ought to phrase that claim. In which case I think you need a stronger argument about the adoption issue, because you only have one reference to it where there was a study that compared the kids in adoption and surrogacy situations. We don't get much information about that study, how many people looked at and how strong the relationships were, and so I don't know that that's the best or the key piece of evidence that you want to be focusing on. So your generalizations are a little bit problematic. Once in a while there was some awkward pronunciation of a word or phrase that's part of the vernacular of this particular subject, and it just is. It's when you're reading it out loud, it sounds a little bit awkward. I'm sure you know what all the words mean, but the way they came across sometimes just sounded a little strange. And when you watch it, you'll hear a couple of those words. Infertile, for instance, I think got mentioned, and the way you say it, it's like you've got the accent in the wrong part of the, on the wrong syllable there, and so it just sounds a little weird. I knew what you were saying, so you just want to be careful about those kinds of things. All right, we can get in one more person, Alyssa.